So we're chapter 1 of Tanya. Yesterday, we did a little intro into Tanya. And if we're going to put the whole thing into one word, what was the objective of this sefer? To teach us how to feel for Hashem, how to talk to Hashem honestly, how to feel for it. That's the point of this book. The point of this book is to help a Jew develop an understanding. Right? That's the Chabad method. Chabad stands for Chochmah bin Adat, the mind. Develop an understanding of what Hashem wants, understanding of who I am. And by understanding it, I'll be able to feel it more and mean it more sincerely. And remember, we use the expression the long and short way, right? Because it takes a long time to understand these things. And then once you understand it, it takes a long time to actually feel for it. But when you get there, it's real because you really worked for it and earned it. And not just, reacting to the excitement going on around you to make you feel for Hashem, but actually feel for Hashem because you worked and you understood work in your mind and your heart to think. And because that's what Tanya does, so the first 13 chapters, the whole book is 53 chapters, and the first 13, the Alter Rebbe, the author, doesn't tell you to do one thing. Doesn't give you one instruction. The first instruction comes in chapter 14, something you should do. Until then, he just defines the terms. You know what that means? Define a term means, like if you and I are having an argument, we have to agree on what the words mean. If we don't agree that this is a table, then we're going to be arguing, but we're not going to be saying the same thing. Right? So before the Alter Rebbe tells us what to do, he first has to tell you what things are. What's a neshama? What's a mitzvah? What's Torah? What's a yetzer hara? What's a Jew? What's a tzaddik? What's a rasha? And once I know what things are, then he can tell me, okay, here's what you have to do. Understand? So the first 13 chapters is just going to be to define the terms, what things are. What's kedusha? What's klipa, the opposite of kedusha? What's tumah? All of these things. Clear? Okay. So let's read it inside. Try to move a little fast because I want to do at least a chapter per day. I'm running out of time. Watch here. Okay, Perek Aleph, chapter 1. Tanya, we've learned the Sof Perek Gimel to Nida in the end of the third chapter of the tractate Nida and Gemara. Mashbiyim Oisai, before the neshama comes down to the body, they make him take a shvuah. Shvuah is a vow, an oath. And he says 3 things. The neshama takes an oath. Before your soul came into your body, the soul made 3 oaths, 3 vows. Number 1, to eat tzaddik, be a tzaddik. The first, this vow. Number 2, v'al tirasha, don't be wicked. And number 3, afilu kol ha'olam kulo yomim lecha. Even if the whole world tells you, tzaddik ata, you're a tzaddik, heyeh be'enecha karasha, you should see yourself like you're wicked. Don't get too arrogant. So be a tzaddik, don't be a rasha. And even if everybody tells you you're a tzaddik, you should think that you're like a rasha. So says the Alter Rebbe, that's the Gemara. Now says the Alter Rebbe, says the Tanya, we have to understand, Tanan, we learn in a Mishnah, in Avot, in Pirkei Avot, Perek Beis, chapter 2, where there it says, don't see yourself as a rasha. So which one is it? The vow says, even if everybody tells you you're a tzaddik, see yourself as a rasha. What does it say? That's right. That's the Alter Rebbe's answer in chapter 13. It's correct. But at the moment, he's saying there's a contradiction. But here comes not just a contradiction in the text. One Mishnah says, see yourself as a rasha, and the other one says, don't see yourself as a rasha. It's a contradiction. Besides for that, there's also a problem. What's it going to do to your mind? And what's the right balance? The Gam also, if I see myself as wicked, yer lavavai, I'm going to feel bad about myself. Right? And I'll become depressed. I'm a nobody. I'm a loser. And that's not good. Because you won't be able to serve Hashem with happier heart. You have to serve Hashem with a happy heart. So you can't just walk around thinking that you're a terrible person. It's a horrible way to think. It's a bad way to think. It's not the way Hashem wants you to think. We're going to learn in later chapters that you have an obligation to be happy. An obligation to be happy. Not that if you're lucky, you get happy. No. You have an obligation to be happy. And we're going to learn about that soon in chapters 26 and 27 and 28 and other chapters following there. But if you hear the Alter saying, if I just walk around saying that I'm going to be a wicked, if I just tell myself I'm wicked all day, I'm going to feel terrible about myself, and I won't be able to get off the couch to even learn. I'm just going to feel bad, right? Okay. If I never feel bad about my bad behavior, then I'll just keep behaving bad. So there has to be a balance. I have to feel bad about my bad behavior, otherwise I'm never going to fix it. On the other hand, if all I do walking around all day is walking around feeling guilty, then I'm going to be depressed. So I have to find the balance. And finding this balance is going to be answered in chapter 33, 34, 35. Some chapters are more than a page, some parts are about a page. Okay, let's move. So that's question number one. The first question is, how do we find the balance between feeling bad about your bad behavior and not feeling like a loser? That's the first question. Okay. But the explanation is, we find in the Gemara, 5 categories of people, of Jews. Tzaddik v'toivloi, a tzaddik who has a good life. Tzaddik v'raloi, a tzaddik who has a bad life. Rasha v'toivloi, a rasha who has a good life, a good life. Rasha v'raloi, a rasha who has a bad life. Beinani and the middle guy. 5 people. Tzaddik, rasha, beinani, and the tzaddik 2 types. Tzaddik who has a good life, tzaddik who has a bad life. Rasha, good life, rasha, bad life. Okay? Upir Gemara, and the Gemara explains, tzaddik v'toivloi, why does the tzaddik have a good life? Why does some tzaddik have a good life? Because tzaddik gamur, he's a complete tzaddik. Nothing bad. So if he has no bad behavior, he's a complete and full tzaddik, then why should Hashem ever give him any punishment? So he says, tzaddik v'raloi, a tzaddik who has a bad life. Tzaddik she'eina gamur, it's because he's not a complete tzaddik. That's what the Gemara says. And the way the Gemara explains it is like this. If you are a complete tzaddik, which means you never did anything wrong in your life, right? So you're for sure not going to get punishment in Gehenna, right? You're not going to get punishment when you pass away because you did a good life. And if you never did one Avera and you're only tzaddik gamur, then even in this world, Hashem's not going to give you anything bad, right? But what if you're a tzaddik she'ena gamur? A person's a tzaddik and he's not a full tzaddik. So he's a little bit of bad. So the Gemara said that Hashem gives him a punishment here. So he has a hard life here. And by giving them a punishment here, when he goes up, he goes straight to Gan Eden. He doesn't have to worry about Gehenna. So it's a favor to him, says the Gemara. It's a favor to him that Hashem gives him a hard life here. And that way he can get a better Gan Eden when he goes up there. That's what the Gemara says. Tanya is going to explain a little bit differently or a deeper level, but that's what the Gemara says. And the same thing should be the other way. A rasha v'raloi. A rasha has a bad life because he has no good behavior. So he's going to get Gehenna full plus a bad life here. A wicked person who has a good life here. How come a wicked person has a good life here, says the Gemara? Because he has a little good. So Hashem gives him reward in this world. And then when he gets to the next world, all of his reward is taken up in the physical world. So he's Gehenna. That's where the Gemara says it. So same thing, tzaddik the other way. If he's a complete tzaddik, so good life here and Gan Eden. If he's not a good tzaddik, so he's a little bit of bad, he has to get a punishment for a little bit of bad. So Hashem will give him the punishment here in this physical world. So he has a hard life here. And when he gets to Shemayim, he goes straight to Gan Eden. Because a little bit of punishment he needed, he got already. Clear? That's the Gemara. But now says the Alter like this. In Raya Mehemna, that's a section of the Zohar, Parshat Mishpatim, in the Parshat Mishpatim, Perush says like this. What does tzaddik v'raloi mean? What does it mean a tzaddik who is bad? So the Gemara said that it means a tzaddik who has a bad life. And why does he have a bad life? Because he's not a complete tzaddik. Right? That's what the Gemara said. But the Zohar says a little bit different, a little bit deeper. It says, let's look, what's the word tzaddik v'raloi? Translate the words exactly. Tzaddik with bad to him. And therefore the Zohar says, Shaharashaboy, the bad that he has in him is kafuf l'tov, is bent to his good. So a tzaddik, and the bad is his because he's in control of his bad. So the Zohar is saying, you know what a tzaddik who is bad to him, not a tzaddik who has bad life. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It's a separate story. But a tzaddik is bad to him means it's a tzaddik who has a little bit of bad in his heart, but he's in control. Understand? So tzaddik v'toivloi, means he doesn't even have any bad in his heart. It's only good in his heart. Tzaddik, v'toiv loy, tzaddik, and it's good to him. So he has no part of him that's bad. A tzaddik v'raloi means he has some bad in him, some bad behavior, some bad feelings, not bad behavior, but bad feelings in him. But kafuf, it's bent to his good feelings. So even though he has bad feelings in him, doesn't really feel it so much because it's dominated by his good feelings. Clear? Okay. Well, the Gemara say test the brachas. In the Gemara, in the end of the 9th chapter of brachas, the Gemara says like this: Tzadikim, a tzaddik yetzer tov shoftan. They are judged by their yetzer tov. Reshayim, the wicked, yetzer hara shoftan. The yetzer hara judges them. Beinonim, the middle guy, zev zeh shoftan. He has that's yetzer hara and yetzer tov rule him. Sorry?
Nothing to do with money.
Nothing to do with or good life or bad life. Just what's going on inside of him. Tzaddik has a Yetzer Tov. Shoftan is in charge of him. The Rasha is the Yetzer Hara is in charge of him. The Beinani is both. So far we have a lot of statements about Tzaddik, Rasha, and Beinani, but none of them really give us any clarity as to what's going on, right? We just have statements about them. And now the Gemara says, now the Tanya is going to quote the Gemara, which says something which makes it even more hard to understand. Omar Rabba says, Kagoin, for example, Ano Beinani. I'm a Beinani. I'm a Beinani. You want an example of a Beinani, of a middle guy? Me. If I asked you what Rabba would be, what would you say? Rabba. Well, if he said he's a Beinani, if you were to meet Rabba, what would you think of him? Tzaddik. So Omar Abaye said to Rabba, do you know who these people are from the Gemara?
Yeah.
Right? You know the Gemara, you learned Rabba, Abaye. So Rabba was the teacher of Abaye and Rava. Right, you learned Abaye and Rava for sure. Rabba, Resh Bet Hey, is the teacher of Abaye and Rava. Rava with Resh Vet Aleph. Right, with the Hey is Rabba and with the Aleph is. So let's see. So Abaye says to Rabba, Leishavik Mar Chaylechol Berya. You're not leaving a room for anybody to live. If you're a Beinani, what are we? If you're a Beinani, then we're nobody. So how could you say you're a Beinani? Okay. Now it says out there like this. To understand all this very well, what does it all mean? A tzaddik who has a good life, a rasha has a bad life, or a rasha has a good life. And what does it mean that it's like the Zohar said that the tzaddik has bad in him, but the bad is bent to his good is in control. What does that mean? So to understand all this very well. And most importantly, we have to also understand. Actually, another question. That which Eov said, Baba Basa Perakal, the Gemara says that Eov says, Rebbeinu Shalom, Master of the Universe, God Almighty, Barasa Tzadikim, you created Tzadikim, Barasa Rashayim, you created wicked. What's the problem with that statement?
It's their choice.
It's your choice. Don't say you created. And that's what the Alter Rebbe asks. The Gemara says, everything is in the hands of heaven. How tall you're going to be, how short you're going to be, how much money you have, what you look like. All that's Hashem decides. Except for one thing Hashem doesn't decide. If you're going to be a Rosh or a Tzaddik, and here Eov says, Hashem, you created Tzaddik and you created Rishayim. So what does this mean?
It means that we don't have free will.
That's what it sounds like. But a basic tenet of our faith is that we have free will. Right? The Rambam writes this and the Gemara writes this. So what does this mean that Eov says we created Tzaddik? And the answer to this is going to come in later chapters, chapter 13 and then later. Okay. The Gam as well. Lahavin to understand. Mohus madregas ha-Beinani. What is the level of a Beinani? So if I asked you what's the Beinani, what would you say? Of Averot, right?
Yeah.
That's what you would think. But the Alter Rebbe says that can't be the case. That's what you would think. Tzaddik has majority mitzvot. Rasha has majority Averot. And Beinani is in the exactly 50-50. But the Alter Rebbe says that can't be. Do you know why it can't be? Something we learned earlier would tell us it can't be that way. So one of the quotes we had.
I think it's the bad life.
No? Something we learned just before. Ready? You're going to see it. It's going to be so obvious. So the Alter Rebbe goes this. A Beinani cannot be somebody who has 50% mitzvot and 50% Averot. Why? Because if that's the case, how could Rabba say he's a Beinani? Did Rabba think that he had 50% Averot? No. And don't tell me he was being humble. Being humble doesn't mean you lie about yourself. Right? You got 100 on your test.
Yeah.
Being humble doesn't mean, oh, I got a 90. That's just lying. Being humble means you just don't show off about the fact that you got 100. Right? Or you say, I got a lot of help from people. So you're humble about where, Hashem gave me the brains and that's why I got the good mark. That's humble. The lying and saying I got a 90, it's not humble. It's just lying. So Rabbi says, I'm a Beinoni. Do you think Rabbi thought that he had 50% Averot? So how could he think he's a Beinoni? It's brilliant. It's so obvious, right?
Obvious.
No, I mean like it's obvious that a Beinoni can't be someone 50-50. How could Rabbi say about himself that he's a Beinoni? Right? V'noida, says the Alter Rebbe, it's not just that Rabbi was a tzaddik, but we know Delay posik puma megirsa. Rabbi, his mouth didn't stop moving from learning Torah. You walk up and down the streets, mouth moving, learning Torah. To the point, shafilu malach hamavet, that even the angel of death couldn't control him, couldn't kill him, because he was learning so much. And there's a whole story that made a tree fall. David HaMelech has a similar story, which we're going to learn later today. In the next session, we'll learn that story. But Rabbi had also a story like that, where he's learning all day long that the Malach HaMavet couldn't get him. And this is the guy who thinks that he has 50% Averot. Not possible. So the Beinoni has to be something else. Ready? Understand? And therefore, how is it possible that Rabbi would make the mistake that he has 50% Averot? Not possible. So that's our first problem with the Beinoni. Now here comes another problem with the Beinoni. How Beinoni exists. But more, the moment you do a sin, what are you? In that, what does a person become in that moment when he does a sin? Rasha. Nikra Rasha Gomer, you call the complete Rasha. But if you do tshuva right afterwards, Nikra Tzaddik Gomer, you're a big tzaddik. So how is a person ever a Beinoni? How could a person ever be a Beinoni? So, but right now, what was the last thing he did? If the last thing he did was an Avera and didn't do tshuva, he's a Rasha. But if he did tshuva already, then he's a tzaddik. So when are you a Beinoni? Then why aren't you a tzaddik? You're not doing anything wrong. Why aren't you a tzaddik?
No, you're not doing anything right. You're just not doing anything wrong.
Okay, so still a tzaddik. Like halacha, in halacha, you're still a tzaddik.
You're walking on the street, you're walking.
Right? Why can't you be a tzaddik then?
Oh, you're not yourself.
So, as long as you don't have averot, right? So let's see. The Alter Rebbe says like this: even someone who does a tiny little avera from the Chachamim, not even missed tefillin one day, small little thing he did. Mikre Rasha, he's called a Rasha if he does that. The Gemara says in Yavamis of a Perek Hamadinida in the first Perek of Nida. Moreover, not only if you do something that you're a person does something wrong, he's a Rasha. If I see someone else doing an avera and I don't stop him, and I don't stop him, Nikra Rasha, I'm a Rasha. So even if I see someone else doing an avera and I don't do it, Rasha. It's pretty harsh. The Perek Vav de Shavuos, this is from the Gemara in Shavuos. The Kol Shekeva Kal V'Chomer, much more so. If someone fails to do a mitzvah, that he could do. So a person could put on tefillin in the morning, doesn't do it. Right. Or let's say I could go visit the sick. I don't. My Rasha? That's the Gemara says. For example, there's an opportunity to do a mitzvah and you don't do it. Rasha? Kamoi, anyone who can learn Torah. Be'ena oisek and doesn't learn. Shalav dar shurazal. The Chachamim say, Ki dvar Hashem boza. He disgraced the words of Hashem. He kares to kares. He gets cut off, chas v'shalom. So which means like this, you're talking about the guy who's doing nothing on his couch. If the person doing nothing on the couch could learn Torah at that moment, Rasha, not Beinoni, because he should have been learning. How is a person ever a Beinoni? That's the big question. That's the big question. If 24/7 Torah, how is Rabbi Beinoni? He should be a tzaddik. So we have to figure out what is this Beinoni guy?
He's not doing better
Hmm?
He's not doing better than before.
Let's see. Sorry?
He's comparing himself to someone.
Rabba?
Yeah, like
No.
who would be doing comparing.
No. He's helping us understand what a Beinoni really is.
He's not doing more. You said he was learning Torah the whole day. Saying there's no spike in what he's doing.
I don't think he could do anymore. He's literally studying all day long. There's nothing more he can possibly do. Right? And yet he says he's a Beinoni. How does this work? So let's see. Now, so how much more so this person, a person who fails to do that which the Chachamim say to do, for sure the person's a Rasha. If so, al karchov, we must say, the Beinoni, ein bo yafilu anvain bittul Torah. The Beinoni is somebody who doesn't even fail to learn Torah at every moment. And he's still a Beinoni. And that's why Torah Rabbi Beinoni. And that's why Rabbi says he's a Beinoni. Because a Beinoni is someone who learns all day long. The question is, why isn't he a tzaddik? We'll get that in a moment. But for now, it's clear that a Beinoni is somebody who does not do anything wrong. And all day long, he's learning. Because if he doesn't, he's a Rasha. And that's why Rabbi says he's a Beinoni. Following? We still don't have the answers yet of why he's not called a tzaddik. But at least we know that a Beinoni cannot be someone who's a Rasha. And the moment you do an Avera, the moment you don't learn Torah when you're supposed to learn Torah, you're a Rasha. So Rabbi, which learned all day long, he's a Beinoni. Why is he not? Why doesn't he think he's a tzaddik? Good question. We'll get to that in a second. From the Tanya?
I'm talking now.
Nowadays?
Yeah, if he considers
Tzaddik by definition of Tanya? No. If he's lucky, maybe Beinoni of the definition of Tanya. We're going to see in a moment, Beinoni is a very high level. Rabbi says he was a Beinoni. Didn't stop learning Torah for 1 second. Walking down the street, mouth moving, learning Torah. Very, very high level Beinoni. So let's see. But first, Alter Rebbe says, now sometimes we say, sometimes the Gemara says that mechza al mechza, or that it's said in different sources, that someone who has half and half, like you said, mikra Beinoni is a Beinoni. And if someone has majority mitzvot, mikra tzaddik is a tzaddik. And someone has majority averot is a rasha. That's the way you said it before, right? Now that contradicts what we said, right? Because you just finished saying that the Beinoni doesn't have any averot, right? So says the Alter Rebbe, hu shem hamushal. That's a borrowed term. With respect to reward and punishment. Because a person is judged based on the majority of his behavior. Lashon HaKodesh. I'm just reading Ashkenazi pronunciation. Right? And he's called a tzaddik in his judgment. Because he won the battle, he won the judgment. Want to grab a Tanya? So let's understand like this. When you're talking about Hashem rewarding and punishment, if that's what we're talking about, then a tzaddik is someone who wins the case. Right? You're being judged on your behavior. So if you win the case, you're a tzaddik, even if it's only 70% mitzvot. If the person loses the case, he's a rasha. And if he's halfway in the middle, then he's a Beinoni. But that's only a question of reward and punishment and judgment. That's not a question of his level. Rosh Hashanah type of thing. Did you win the judgment on Rosh Hashanah? Did you win the judgment after a person passes away, let's say? But when you're talking about the level of the person, different story. So I hope right now I imagine you're a little confused as to what this Beinoni is. We're going to explain right now. Now comes the answer. So here's the crucial line. We're on page 10. Ready? But when we come to the real, true virtue and level, and the title, Torah as a title, when we get to the levels of a tzaddik and Beinoni, Amar Azal here. Amar Azal, the Chachamim say, tzaddikim mitzvotay shoftan. We quote the Gemara which says that a tzaddik is judged by his yetzer tov. What does that mean? And the Gemara says, the pasuk reads, "Ve'libi chalol bekirbi." David HaMelech says, "My heart is empty inside of me." Says the Gemara, what does it mean his heart is empty? She'ein li yetzer hara. Not his heart, yetzer hara is empty, but he has no yetzer hara. No yetzer hara. Ki hargu b'tainus, because David HaMelech, through fasting and through teshuvah, killed his Yetzer Hara. Yeah, after the incident. So let's think now. What's a tzaddik now? What's a tzaddik now?
When you're getting judged.
Not when we're talking about the judgment thing. When we're talking about the level of a tzaddik. What? No Yetzer Hara. What does no Yetzer Hara mean? I don't even have to fight it. I don't even have to fight it. It's gone. So think of it this way. If I wake up in the morning and I have an urge in my body, I want to do something, but it's the wrong thing to do, and I don't do it, I control myself. Am I a tzaddik? Not by this definition, because I still have a Yetzer Hara. David HaMelech says, why is it a tzaddik? Because he has no Yetzer Hara left. So if I have a Yetzer Hara and I control it, what am I? Boom, Beinani. That's the Beinani. That's why Rabbi said he's a Beinani. Because Rabbi said, look, it's very possible that somewhere deep down, I want to do bad things. But I control myself all day. Who said I'm a tzaddik? A tzaddik means someone who has no Yetzer Hara. Never mind, he controls himself. He doesn't even want to do bad. That's a tzaddik. A Beinani is someone who, look, he wants to do bad things, but he controls himself. So Rabbi says, the truth is that Rabbi was a tzaddik. But Rabbi was saying, maybe deep down I want to do bad things, but I'm controlling myself. Understand? Now we understand what I was telling you yesterday, why this book is called the Book of the Beinani, the book for the average person. And what's the average person? Could you expect the average person to have no more Yetzer Hara? You can't expect that. What could we expect? Control it. That's exactly right. And that's the first thing Alter Rebbe teaches us right here in this Tanya. When you're looking to get closer to Hashem, don't think you're going to get rid of your desires for bad things. You're a human being, and Hashem created you with the Yetzer Hara. Hashem created you with desires to do bad things. And that is normal. Just control yourself. Understand? So a lot of people feel like, I controlled myself yesterday, and I wake up today again, and again I want this bad thing. And they feel like giving up. Because they feel like they feel like they're never going to win. Says the Alter Rebbe, you're giving up because you're aiming for the wrong thing. You're trying to get rid of Yetzer Hara. Stop doing that. Who said you're supposed to get rid of Yetzer Hara? You're a human being. You're not tzaddik. You're going to have a Yetzer Hara. You're going to want bad things. And that's normal. It's fine. But control yourself. That's a different story. Understand? And that's the real struggle that a Jew is supposed to work on. And the book is going to be dedicated to inspiring me to do that. How can I inspire myself every day to control myself, right? Because I'm not getting rid of my Yetzer Hara, which means every single day I got to fight it. Every day I got to control it. It's a battle, every day struggle. And that's what the book's going to do for us. Give us inspiration to fight that everyday urges, everyday urge, everyday Yetzer Hara. Understand? So let's go forward. Anyone who didn't get to the point where they got rid of the Yetzer Hara, even if he has much more mitzvot than Averos, he is not a tzaddik at all. Maybe a Beinani, if he's controlling himself, but not a tzaddik. A tzaddik is somebody who has no more Yetzer Hara left. Doesn't even want to do bad things. Right? And therefore, Omar Azal, the Chachamim say Medrash, God saw that there are very few tzaddikim. A tzaddik, someone who has no more Yetzer Hara, is very few. How many people in the world do you know that have no Yetzer Hara? Probably no one. I don't think I've ever, I met the Rebbe as a child. That's probably the only person I've ever met that has no Yetzer Hara. Meet someone who doesn't have a Yetzer Hara? I mean, that's not a normal person. That's a tzaddik. And says the Medrash that Hashem saw tzaddikim, and there's very few of them. So what did God do? God planted them in every generation. So one tzaddik here, one tzaddik there, one tzaddik there, instead of all of them being in one time, and then there's no tzaddikim, you put tzaddikim every generation. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, the tzaddik is olam. A tzaddik, one tzaddik is the foundation of the world. So Hashem makes sure there's one tzaddik in the world at every generation, at least one. Okay.
excluding or including?
That's a good question. And we're going to learn in chapter 10 that there are two levels of tzaddik. And the tzaddik out there was talking about here, the high level of tzaddik, and that is much, much more fewer. The 36 tzaddikim is probably the lower level of tzaddik. And we're going to learn the difference between the two levels. But for now, already we have clear that the question of tzaddik, rasha, and beinoni is not a question of how you act. It's a question of how you feel. A tzaddik is someone who has no feelings to do anything bad. It's a tzaddik, no more yetzer hara, you killed it, it's gone. A beinoni is the average person, a normal person, who has a yetzer tov and has a yetzer hara. But what does the beinoni do? He controls his yetzer hara. He has a yetzer hara, but he controls it. And what's the rasha? The rasha is someone who gives in to his yetzer hara. So you're talking about switching beinoni to rasha, which means like this: your average person, normal person, sometimes he doesn't have avera. Happens. So what happens in that moment? What is he at that moment for doing that? He's a rasha. 10 minutes later, another avera comes to him. And he says, you know what? I'm going to control myself now. Beinoni. And that's the struggle of life. That's the struggle of life, to constantly try to keep up with being a beinoni. Constantly try to keep up to controlling yourself. Remember I told you before that in chapter 14 is going to come the first instruction? Yeah. That's what Alter tells us in chapter 14. The first instruction Alter gives in chapter 14 is going to be, try to control yourself as much as you can. And he's going to give us a tool. He actually says to control yourself all the time. But he says there that at least every moment you should know that you're capable of controlling yourself.
What if you do, let's say, you do it like a pattern with you, do a and then you control yourself, you do a mitzvah, and then you control yourself again, and then blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you do a mitzvah.
So you're constantly going like this, back up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Where that makes you do at the end of the day something.
Teshuvah is more than just doing a mitzvah. Teshuvah means to change your whole life around, which is a big deal, right? Okay, so let's see. So that's the first part of chapter 1. Now we get into another part of chapter 1, the second half of chapter 1, where the two dots in page 10. Page 10, if you back up a little bit. Yeah, page 10. Looking at not the numbers on the bottom, look at the numbers at the top. You'll see page 10. Here. The two dots over there. Right there. Okay. So far, so clear? So we know so far we have tzaddik and beinoni. We're going to get more definition later. But for now, we know tzaddik is someone who has no yetzer hara, and the beinoni is someone who has yetzer hara but controls himself. Yes? Okay. Now, in order to understand this, we need to understand, if we want to understand how to control ourselves, we need to understand, where do our instincts come from? Why is it that inside of us we feel like we want to do good things and we also want to do bad things? It's a funny thing. And if a person doesn't understand it, they can go crazy. And sometimes people feel like hypocrites. You ever feel like a hypocrite? You feel like you wake up in the morning. You ever get this feeling? You wake up in the morning. You know what? It's a good day. I woke up on time. I'm going to get my tefillin. I'm going to pray. And it's going to be good. You ever get that feeling? And then 5 minutes into your prayer, a little thought comes into your head that says, you're acting like a whole tzaddik. I know what averot you did yesterday. But now you're acting like a big tzaddik. You ever get that feeling? And you feel like you're a contradiction in your head. So how do you deal with that? So you need to understand, where do these feelings come from? Why is it that on the 1 second I have a feeling I want to do mitzvot for Hashem, and the next second I have a feeling I want to do bigger averot? Like, where does this come from? Like, what's the story here? Okay, we know we have a yetzer hara, a yetzer tov. That's true. But where does that come from? What's really going on inside? Sound like something we want to know? I think so. So let's see. But to explain all of this, let's explain, how do we have these instincts to do good, to do bad, and how to control them? Alpin mashakaso, based on that which it says, Harav Chaim Vital, that which Rav Chaim Vital writes. You guys heard of Rav Chaim Vital?
Yeah.
Chaim Vital is a student of the Arizal, right? So all of the teachings of the Arizal come to us from Rav Chaim Vital. So Rav Chaim Vital Zechron Levracha writes, B'Shar HaKadusha, in the section called Shar HaKadusha, U'Be'etz Chaim Shar Nun Perek Beis, he says like this: the L'chol Ish Yisrael, every single Jew, Echad Tzaddik, whether it's a Tzaddik The echad rasha, whether he's wicked. Yea, she has shtei nishamot. 2 neshamas. Not 1, 2. Have you heard this before? This is a fundamental idea in Kabbalah and Chassidut, that every person has 2 neshamas. The Ktiv, as the verse reads, V'neshamot ani asisi. Ani asiti. This is in a pasuk in Yeshaya. God says, I made souls. And if you look at the whole pasuk, there's talking about one person. Hashem made souls for one person. 2 souls. Shehein, these 2 souls are shtei nefashot, are 2 nefashot. What's the difference between a nefesh and a neshama? Anybody? A neshama is also a soul. So what's the difference between nefesh and neshama? So let's think of it this way. Exactly the other way around. Yeah, but you got it right. Neshama is like a spiritual thing. When you think of neshama, what do you think of? Some spiritual thing that Hashem sent down to the body to go into, you know? But when you think, you feel yourself. You feel yourself being alive right now. You touch your fingers, you can feel yourself, right? You feel yourself breathing. You're aware of your own thoughts. What's that? That's a nefesh. And they would call it your psyche in English. Or another word for it is your sentience. You feel alive. That's a nefesh. So you feel alive. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Is that a yitzhar or a yitzhar? Nothing. It's just me being me, right? That's a nefesh. It's where I think. It's where I feel. It's what makes my body walk. Makes my body work. It's being a human being. That's a nefesh. So says the Alter Rebbe, you have 2 of those. 2 of those. 2 sets of me. Okay? What are the 2? Nefesh achat. 1 comes mitzad klipa v'sitra achra. You know what klipa is? You heard the term klipa? Klipa and sitra achra, we're going to explain them more in chapter 6 and 7. But for now, we'll just say that klipa and sitra achra means not holy, not godly. It's not godly. It's 1 nefesh I have. Vihi, and this nefesh, which is not godly, mitlabeshet, is invested bedama adam in my blood of man, lahachir saguf, to give life to the body. That's what we were talking about before. I feel alive. That's a nefesh. But is that a holy nefesh? It's not holy. It's like you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm hungry. There's a me inside of me that says I'm hungry, right? Because this me inside of me keeps my body alive. It senses that the stomach is hungry and we're low on energy. I'm hungry. Is that's a godly feeling? It's a human feeling, right? It's just me being alive. That's klipa. Why is it klipa? Because it's not godly. And anything that's not godly is klipa. Following? So when we think of it that way, is klipa evil? Well, what do you mean by evil? If you mean by evil murder, that's a terrible klipa. But even just saying I'm hungry. I am hungry. That's not godly, that's me. Selfish. That's klipa. But you need that to survive. If you didn't have a nefesh that woke up and said, I'm hungry, you wouldn't eat. That's why he said even a tzaddik has a nefesh, this nefesh. Even a tzaddik or Rasha, both of them have 2 nefesh. One is godly. We'll talk about that in chapter 2 tomorrow. Sorry? Yeah. But there's 2 1. There's 2. One is godly and one is just human. A dog also has a nefesh. The same way, what? Not a neshama in that sense, but you feel alive and you feel hungry. A dog also feels alive and feels hungry. Okay, so you're a little more sophisticated because you have a brain and you have a heart, you have feelings. I don't know, maybe dogs probably also have feelings too. Maybe their brains are not as great as yours. Their mind is not as great as yours. but they also are alive. Exactly. That's what we call the animal soul. Nefesh habahamit. It's the part of me. It's no different than an animal. What does an animal want to do? Eat, sleep, drink, and have kids. What do I want to do? Eat, sleep, drink, and have kids. So what's the difference? I'm a smarter animal. And the truth is that if you don't have a Torah, and you don't understand that you have a godly soul, besides for your regular human animal soul, then you're an animal. Which is why if you're an atheist, chas v'shalom, someone who's an atheist, and they just believe in evolution, without believing that Hashem is running the world and Hashem gives you a good neshama. So what do you think of yourself? You're a biological mistake. Right? Cows got together and had baby cows, and humans got together and had baby humans. Is anything meaningful to me? Anything valuable? Nothing. And it's a terribly depressing life. Just to think that you're just an accident of biology. Right? Plants grow from, I don't know, where do they grow from? From whatever, from the earth, and animals grow because the animals have evolved, and human beings also have babies, so I'm born. If that's what you think of yourself, then the whole life becomes meaningless. It's a terrible way to live. But that's only the nefesh habahamit, like you said. That's only the animal soul. It's only one part of me. But then I have another part of me. The other part of me is godly. That's the part of me. So now you get back to the question, why is it that in the morning I wake up and I feel like I want to pray? And then 5 minutes later, the animal soul, I come and says, I have this thing in my head that says, you're a nobody. This is an argument between two parts of you, two different nefesh. You have one nefesh that's godly and says, I have a meaning in my life. I have a purpose in my life. Hashem wants me to do things. And another part of me that says, it all doesn't matter. You're just an animal who likes things and that's it. You have these two parts of you. You have two nefashot. Don't feel like a hypocrite. You're human. And human beings have two nefashot. Human beings, a Jew has two nefashot. You're a normal person. And you need both of them. Because if you didn't have the part of you that felt like a normal human being, you wouldn't be interested in eating or sleeping or drinking. You wouldn't have a body to function. Your body needs that animal drive to function. Otherwise, people would never get married. People would never eat breakfast in the morning. Because why should I? You only eat breakfast in the morning because you have a body and you have an animal soul which says, hey, you got to feed the body. So you need that. You need that part of you. But then you also have, like we're going to learn in chapter 2, a godly soul. And that's what we say the neshama. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Clear? So now before we go to chapter 2, we're going to finish chapter 1 where he's going to explain more of what the nefesh habahamit is, what this animal soul is. This part, this nefesh, which just makes me like a regular animal, like every other animal on the planet. You clear? So let's continue. Umimena, from this, fourth to last line, second word. Umimena, and from it, from this nefesh of klipa, which we call the nefesh habahamit, the animal soul, the part of me that just lives like a human, wants to eat, sleep, drink, and have a family. Boys call midesrois. That is where bad behavior comes from. It's not bad necessarily, but that's where bad behavior comes from. In other words, like this, if the animal soul is selfish and all it wants to do is take care of itself, sometimes selfish can mean doing bad things too.
It stems from that.
So what's the problem? Is the problem, in other words, because we figured out now that there's two stages here. One is the fact that I want to do something bad, but deeper down, there's just a part of me that wants to live a better life. And because it wants to live better and happier, that's why it does bad things. So what if I trained myself to understand that you know what living a better life would be? If you serve Hashem, you'll be happier. So the animal part of you is also going to serve Hashem.
It's like a tree. You plant like seeds, let's say the neshama,
Yeah.
meat. You could let it grow. Just the selfishness, whatever. Like the other tree, cut it.
Right. You can trim it. Or using the example of a tree, you know how when a tree is growing, they put a stick next to the tree to make sure it goes straight? Exactly. So you have to make sure the nefesh habahamit goes in the right way. So it's not, in other words, we don't want you to stop eating. Right? Who eats? The nefesh elokit, the godly soul eats? No, the animal soul eats because it's an animal, it wants to eat. So we're going to let you eat, but you're going to eat like a Jew. You're going to make a bracha. You're going to eat kosher. You're going to have in mind that I'm eating so I can have more energy to serve Hashem later. So it's not about getting rid of my nefesh bahamit, but about redirecting it in a good way. But if I don't, like he says here, from it comes all kinds of bad behavior. And they're generally split into 4 categories of negative behavior, which come from the 4 elements. You heard of the 4 elements? Fire, water, air, and earth. So these 4 elements exist in the nefesh also, and they have 4 negative categories of bad behavior, which is dainu, kas, v'gaiva, anger and ego, from yisayda eish, from fire, going up, shenig b'lamayla, which goes up, taiva tatanugim, lust, desire. You said the mayim from water, very good. Ki hamayim matzmichim kol minei tanya, because water makes everything grow. Everything that's life is water, right? When they're looking for life on Mars, what are they looking for? Water. So all life and pleasure is water. V'halulus v'litzonos v'sparos, just wasting time, mockery, just, sorry? We said ruach, from air, goes around. Va'atzlus, laziness and depression. Say the earth, from the earth. So these are the 4 categories of negative behavior that come from, they come from these 4 elements, but they come from this nefesh bahamit if we don't control it. Clear? Okay. Now he says like this: even good behavior that a Jew has from birth. For example, right? You know the famous Gemara which says that there are 3 signs for the Jewish people. They're bashful, they're humble, they are merciful. Jews have mercy, rachmanut, and we are generous. So where does that nature come from? Do you think it comes from your godly soul or from the animal soul? You would think it's from the godly soul. The Alter Rebbe says it comes from the animal soul. Why? Because that's your natural state of being. You're born that way. So monkeys were born to eat bananas. Human beings were born to eat, sleep, and have children. And Jews were born to be nice. If it's something that's just born to you, and it's just the way you are, it's not the godly soul. So when does the godly soul express itself? Mitzvot. When you do something not for yourself, but for Hashem. If you're doing something because that's how you like it, then it's not the godly soul anymore. It's I like it. And if I say I, then it's klipa. Then it's nefesh bahamit. If I say I'm doing it for you, Hashem, that's godly soul. But if it's saying I do it because I want it, then that's animal soul. Even if what I want is to be nice. Got it? Okay. So Yisrael nefesh did the klipa. Why is that? Because for the Jew, this level of this nefesh of klipa, this animal soul, he klipat noga, is from a level of klipa that the Zohar calls klipat noga. We're going to talk about that more in chapter 6 and 7 and 8. But klipat noga basically means a kind of klipa that has the potential to be good. I'll give you an example. We're going to learn more about this later chapter. Let's give you an example. This table, is it kedusha or klipa? It's klipa, but I could use it for serving Hashem, right? Because I put the table into the synagogue. If I took the same table and I put it into somewhere else, and a bunch of people sat around and had a board meeting of how they can steal, then the same table now became for Avera, right? That's klipat noga. So the Jews' neshama is the same way. My nefesh bahamut, my animal soul is the same way. It could go a good way, or it could go a negative way. Following? My animal soul, my eating, my drinking, me being a regular human being, could either be just selfish, or it could be godly, depending on what I do with it. Following? Clear? All right. And this comes from Yesod Eitz Hadas. This comes from the Eitz Hadas, which is Tov Ra, but the Eitz Hadas from the Garden of Eden had good and bad mixed in it. But when it comes to the nefesh of non-Jewish people, that comes from other klipa, which doesn't have the ability to be godly, because they don't have mitzvot. The Gemara and the Zohar say that a non-Jew that does good things, they're doing it for selfish reasons. So it's even the good is for self. The truth is, the Rebbe writes that it's not that even a non-Jew could elevate himself to be a little better, and that's called the Chasidei Umat Olam, right? The kind amongst the nations, right? There were people during the war, non-Jews who say risk their lives to save Jews. These are non-Jews who elevated to be not just all selfish, but actually do a little bit more, because they also have free choice. Non-Jew has free choice. That's why Hashem gave them 7 mitzvot, right? Hashem doesn't give mitzvot unless you have free choice. Right? Hashem commands you to do something. If you didn't have a choice to do it, then how could he command you to do it? Right? So Hashem commands the non-Jews to do 7 mitzvot, 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach. That means they have free choice. Which means if they choose to do it better, they can elevate themselves to be a little bit higher. But the question is, when you're born just by nature, that's what Nefesh HaBahamat is. You're born nature. You're born nature. And you're born human nature. You feel alive, you get hungry, sometimes you do good things, and sometimes you do bad things. So if you want to put in one word, what's Nefesh HaBahamat? Nefesh HaBahamat is all about me. Me? All about me. What do I want? I want to sleep, I want to drink, I want to eat, I want to have fun, I want to have this, I want that, I want. That's Nefesh HaBahamat. Is it bad? Well, it depends how you behave. Right? So to summarize chapter 1, we have 2 main things we learned in chapter 1. Number 1, we learned in chapter 1 what a Beinoni is. A Beinoni is not someone who does bad things. A Beinoni is someone who has a Yetzer Hara, but controls himself. A tzaddik is somebody who no Yetzer Hara. That's the first thing we learned in chapter 1. The second thing we learned in chapter 1 is that every Jew has not 1 nefesh, but 2 nefashot. And we learned what the nature of the first nefesh is. The first nefesh is, we called it, like you said, Nefesh HaBahamat, the animal soul. Nefesh HaBahamat is me being a regular, selfish human being, which could be bad, could be good. See? These are 2 things you learned. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, I want to add one more thing. What changes now that we said that it's a Nefesh HaBahamat and not a Yetzer Hara? What changes? When you say it's just the Yetzer Hara, then you know what it is? It's an evil part of me that I'm fighting all day long. But when I realize it's not an evil part of me fighting all day long, it's a normal part of me that I have to redirect. It changes the fight. I'll give you an example. Person who wants to eat not kosher, chas v'shalom, right? What's the problem here? A person who wants to eat a non-kosher item. What's the problem here? There's just 2 parts to what he wants. Number 1, there's the fact that he wants to eat. And number 2, there's the fact that he wants to eat something not kosher. So which part's the problem? The not kosher part. The fact that he wants to eat is a problem? No. So the fact that I want to eat is what? That's my nefesh. But now it became bad because it wants to eat something not kosher.
Like earth, let's say. Earth, there's 2 things that could go through there.
Yeah.
It could be flowers, roses, and that could be wheat.
That's right. It can go who knows direction. Right? So all I have to do here is take my want to eat and change it from eating not kosher to eating kosher. Right? And the same thing is true, especially as sorry?
It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah.
Sure. I mean, it's avera to eat not kosher. Not necessarily. On Shabbat and Yom Tov, yes. But you can make it holy if when you eat your kosher food, we're going to learn soon, if you have in mind that why am I eating now? Because I want energy to learn later. So now my eating became part of my learning. That is another thing, especially as you're teenagers, right? And teenagers, as you get older in your teenage years, you start to get new desires, right? You start to get new desires. It's part of developing. So a person might think, looks at himself, I'm such a terrible person. I want these things. It's horrible. But is that really horrible? If you didn't have that feeling, would you ever get married? You wouldn't get married. So it's a good thing you have that feeling. So what's the problem? The problem is which direction it goes. You understand? The problem is not that you desire. The problem is what you desire. The problem is not that I'm hungry. The problem is that I'm hungry for non-kosher food. The hunger is not the problem. Following? I'm being vague on purpose. But you understand what I'm saying? Right. So it's important to remember that you're not a bad person for having such feelings. You're a normal, healthy teenager. But you're going to redirect it in the right way. Because Hashem, when the time comes, you're going to take all that feeling and put it in the right direction. But it's not bad. It's just being human. It's like being hungry. Being hungry is not a problem. It's a good thing. If you weren't hungry, you wouldn't eat. And it's a real thing. People suffer. They don't ever feel hungry. It's a big problem. Other people suffer. They never feel full. So they're constantly eating. But some people suffer. No, seriously, it's a real problem. People who suffer, they never feel hungry. And they never feel the need to eat. Your body doesn't send signals that you're hungry. It's a problem. It's the same thing with this. If your body doesn't send signals as you're getting older to want certain things, then you're not going to develop as a normal, proper human being. So it's a good thing you have these feelings. But the question is how you're going to direct it. Are you in control of it? But that's the foundation is to understand that there's nothing wrong with you by wanting these things. You're a regular human being. Now the question is, how do I control it? How do I direct it in a good and healthy way? But that's the first thing Dr. tells you in Perek Aleph, chapter 1. You're normal. You're normal for wanting things. You're normal for feeling like a hypocrite. Sometimes you feel like you want to do all good, and sometimes you feel like you want bad. You're normal. You have two nefashot. One nefesh wants this way, and one nefesh wants that way. And the nefesh that wants this way, the nefesh that's animal, is not a bad thing. It's a healthy thing. It's a human thing. And when you get in the right place, you'll direct it in the right direction. Clear? Okay. So B'ezrat Hashem, chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's going to be all about the godly soul. And then chapter 6, 7, and 8, we're going to come back to the animal soul to understand it a little bit better. And then chapter 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, we're going to talk about the fight between the two souls. So far, so clear? Fantastic.